Hey guys, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video I am super excited about. This is going to be my birth story. Well, not my birth, Mason's birth story. So yeah, I asked you guys on Instagram if you guys would be interested in hearing Mason's birth story along with Carter's. So since both of their birth stories are pretty interesting, if I should say, it's probably gonna be long videos, so I'm gonna break them into two parts. So this one is obviously going to be Mason's, if you can't tell by the title. There's a baby waking up. Carter's waking up. Aww. Hey, welcome to my channel. My name's Carter. I'm so weird. I'm not really sure where to begin with this. I guess I'll start with, so with Mason, when I was pregnant with him, I was working, yeah, I was working full time. So actually more than full time. I felt like I was working 6 days a week, and I was serving and bartending at the same time at my old restaurant job. And you're pooping. Are you pooping? And yeah, so I was working 6 days a week because me and Mason's dad at the time, were really tight on money, so we had to both be working. So I worked literally until the day that I gave birth, the exact day. I was 39 weeks and 4 days with Mason, and I was at home. Marty had just gotten off of work, and he works a restaurant job as well. He's a general manager for a restaurant, and he worked from 8 in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. He got home and he went straight to bed. He was exhausted. He had to work the next day at 7. And I had just gotten off at 4 that day, and I knew I had to work the next day at 10. So I was tired too, and pregnant. What's wrong? And so we both were laying in bed. He fell asleep, and I started having at 10 o'clock at night these really severe back pains. And if you don't personally know me, you guys wouldn't know this, but I was in a car accident when I was 15, and I broke 2 vertebrae in my back. So back pain for me is normal. I'm gonna have it the rest of my life. So usually it's not something that I'm concerned about. But this was I felt like I just had the accident all over again. I was having just sharp shooting pains down my back, and I had no contractions though. So I'd never heard of back labor before, and that's what I was having, straight up back labor. It was very painful, very intense, and I didn't know if I should wake Mason's dad, Marty, up, or if I should just let him sleep, because I knew he had to work the next day. I knew he was exhausted. I was exhausted. I didn't want to go to the hospital and it be a false alarm, because when you're a first-time mom, you already have so much that people are telling you oh, it's gonna be like this or it's gonna be like that, and you want to prove them wrong as a first-time mom. You want to be no, I got this. I know what I'm talking about. So I didn't want to be the person that was at the hospital every other day, making sure everything was okay, or seeing if I'm in labor yet. I don't know, I guess that was pretty stubborn of me, but I wanted to be right, and I wanted to know, and when I knew, that's when I was gonna go to the hospital. And I didn't know yet, so yeah, it was 10 o'clock at night when I started getting the pains. And so I got up and I walked around a little bit, went to the living room, and I'm sitting there hoping that the pain's gonna go away. And I'm kind of freaking out because I also in the back of my head know I'm going into labor, but I'm nah, this isn't it. There's no way that this is it. And about 2 hours later, it's midnight now. I'm almost in tears. I'm starting to feel contractions now. I know that this is real. So I'm well, crap, I gotta wake Marty up. So, and I felt terrible. So I woke him up and I'm hey, I'm really sorry. If this isn't really me going into labor, kill me now. I'm so sorry. Because I know you're gonna be exhausted in the morning if you have to take a 3-hour trip to the hospital. The hospital's 10 minutes away, but I didn't know how long it was gonna take in the hospital. So I was I'm so sorry, don't hate me. He was cool with it. He was no, if you think you're going into labor, let's go. So I drove myself. Me and Marty got in the car, I drove to the hospital, and they hook you up to this monitor when you get there, and they're timing your contractions and everything. And I was oh my gosh, I feel this is it. My contractions were 3 minutes apart. I mean, I don't know, they're pretty close apart. close together. And I was like, man, like, I think this is it. They like checked me to see how dilated I was. I was 3 centimeters dilated. And they're like, yeah, like, we're gonna have to keep you, because also my blood pressure was raising. Like, it was just a whole bunch of mess. And they're like, yeah, like, we're gonna keep you just for a few hours, see if your blood pressure goes down. If it goes down, we're gonna send you home, because you're not like, I wasn't like actively dilated. Like, I was already at a 3 at my doctor's appointment, so I was just kind of like where I was at. It was fine. So I like walked around the hospital a little bit for about an hour. They checked my blood pressure again, and it was still high, so they had to keep me overnight. So I'm like walking around this hospital for like 3 hours, and I'm like, man, this baby's coming. So I just kept walking, hoping I would dilate more, and I did. I became a 4, which, if you don't know really much about labor, you get to a 10, and that's when you start pushing. So I was at a 4, so I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm in labor, this is happening. I was so excited. Marty called his mom, and I called my best friend, Morgan, and she came over to the hospital and was sitting with us and going through the whole process with us. When I got to about like 4.5, 5 centimeters dilated, I literally thought I was dying. So silly old Ashley didn't go to any birthing classes, no, like nothing whatsoever of the sort. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was very unprepared, to say the least. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I had no idea. Carter's not happy. But, so I had just no idea, and I was not prepared for what was going on. Yeah, so I'm like in the hospital bed, freaking out because the contractions are getting more intense, closer together. They're not just in my back anymore, they're like everywhere, like not everywhere, but like in my abdomen, and I can't breathe through them. I never learned how to breathe through the contractions. I thought it would just come natural. It doesn't. And I'm like holding my breath, crying, yelling. My friend's there like trying to like calm me down, like be there by my side, like hold my hand, rub my back. She was so sweet, but none of it was helping, and I was terrified because I'm like, this is gonna hurt so bad. It already hurts so bad. Where's the epidural? Like, I'm yelling. And at 6 centimeters, they came in and gave me the epidural, which, by the way, I know so many people are like fearful of the epidural. I literally did not even feel it. Like, I cannot tell you when it went in, how long it lasted. I honestly didn't feel it at all. The contractions were way more intense than the pain of that. So people that have like, they say it's painful. I guess it just varies from person to person, or like how far you are in labor, where you can still feel like that pain. Cause I was crying for it. Like, I needed it. I needed that epidural. So I got it at 6 centimeters. And then at this time, so we got there at like 12:30, like midnight, the night before. And my grandma and grandpa came out. My dad came out. Now it's like 10 in the morning. And so I was there for a few hours. Still at a 7. I was at a 7 at this point. And Marty had to go back to the apartment to let the dog out. So while he's there, the nurses come in again and check me. And they're like, oh, okay, well, you're breech. And I'm like, huh? Like, he's breech? What? I'm already in labor? Like, what? No, he's not supposed to be breech. So basically his butt was down there and at my cervix, and it was supposed to be his head. So I was, again, freaking out because my biggest fear was a C-section. Was not prepared whatsoever for regular, like natural birth. Definitely wasn't prepared for a C-section. And Marty's not there, so I'm like with myself, my grandparents, and like my friend is there. And I'm like freaking out now. I'm like, oh my God, is he gonna make it back in time to be here? Like, is it now? Like, I was freaking out. And then they tell me he's pooping inside of me. So now it's not just he's breech, now he's pooping meconium, which if he like breathes that, it could really hurt him, if not kill him. So now it's an emergency C-section. So now I'm like, oh God, he has to get out of there, and then I can get an infection from this. Like, I was just so scared, and I felt like very alone in a time where I had so many people around me. I did not know what was going on. And then the nurses started bringing in like student nurses, I guess they're called. They were doing like walk-arounds and like learning. And one of the girls is like, hey, I've never felt a breech baby. Like, do you mind if I feel? And I'm like, yeah, I guess go ahead. I've already had like 8 other hands there feeling me the whole night. So go for it. So that was interesting. I've never experienced that. But, hi, little fussy baby. So at this point, I'm like calling Marty and I'm like, you need to get here. I'm so afraid. Like, they said we're gonna have to have a C-section. You're not here, you need to get back here. So, why are you so fussy? What's wrong? I feel like every single time we vlog, you're sad. I swear, guys, she's normally a happy baby, but it seems like every time we have the camera on, she is not happy. Okay, so so Marty got back to the hospital about like 20-30 minutes later, and mind you guys, I also haven't eaten since like 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock the night before, so I'm starving. So now I'm like hungry, terrified, ready for this baby to come out. And no one, like my boyfriend at the time is not there, you know? So I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? So, she's staring at me. So Marty gets back there. They like suit him up in like this like full body like hairnet. He looks like he's a lunch man in like NASA. Like he has stuff on his feet and everything. Why are you smiling at me? Hi. And she's like smiling / crying. I don't even know what this is. But so they suit him up and then they get me ready and bring me into like the coldest room I've ever been in. And all you're in is like a hospital gown. It's freezing. And I've already had the epidural, so I'm already like can't feel anything really down there. And then they have to give me like the C-section medicine, so I don't feel them like slice me open. Honestly, normally it's a spinal. I don't think I got a spinal for, I'm not honestly 100% sure. They like put something in my stomach because I had already had the epidural. I'm not really sure how it works. I'm not a doctor, and I was also like super out of it because I was starving and like just ready for this baby to come and terrified. So I really don't remember what kind of medicine they did after the epidural to like numb my stomach. But I know it wasn't a spinal. But anyways, so I'm like in this room. There's so many people in this room, guys. Like you're still naked. So like my hoo-ha's out, everything's out. There's like 8 people in this room and the only person of mine was Marty. So I'm like, oh my gosh, all these people are just like down there and I'm terrified. Like what's going on? So, I have like the anesthesiologist behind me trying to calm me down. He was cool. And like giving me medication for like the anxiety I was having because I was freaking out. And they're like giving me the medicine in my stomach, asking if I could feel anything. Couldn't feel anything, so I was all good there. And then they're like, all right, like we're gonna start slicing you open. So, and like, who is really ready for that? They're like, are you ready? Like, no, I'm not ready for this. I want this baby out of me, but I'm terrified. Like, I don't wanna get sliced open. So they sliced me open. I had like a blue curtain, so I can't see anything. Marty was able to see, and I was like, Marty, record it. But they don't let you record in the OR, unfortunately. You can only take pictures. And so I wanted him to record it so I could see the birth of my son, you know, but couldn't do that. So then like I'm like looking up in like the lights that are on the ceiling, like that are looking down on me, and I can like kind of see him a little bit. And it took like probably like 10-15 minutes. Like I feel like I wasn't in there very long. And it literally felt like so much pressure. You couldn't feel what was going on like nerve-wise, but you could feel them like moving you. I don't even know how to explain it. Like it's a really weird feeling. And there's like a lot of tugging, a lot of pressure. And then he comes out and I don't hear him crying. So I'm like freaking out. Now I'm like, why isn't he crying? Why isn't he crying? And all I'm thinking of is that like meconium that he was like ingesting, and I was just terrified. I just wanted my baby. So then finally, after like what felt like 5 minutes, which was probably like 5 seconds, he starts crying. So I'm excited. They like bring him over to the little like table thing, the like baby warmer, and they're like weighing him. Marty goes over there and cuts the cord, and I'm like, okay, like give me my baby. Like I want to hold my baby. Where's my freaking baby? So then finally, again, what felt like forever, I'm like watching him like this as I'm being like packaged back up. They bring him over to me, and oh gosh, I literally can't even describe to you guys what that feeling was like. Your first baby, my first little boy, literally, I could cry right now. I really could. They like laid him on my chest, and I'm 20 years old at the time, brand new mom, had no idea what I was going through, just went through so much crap. And I finally have my baby, and he's just looking up at me. He was crying, and right when he touched me, he stopped crying. And I'm just this emotional mess, just so happy. And all the people that were in the room like just suddenly disappeared out of my head, and all I could see was my little baby. And I know that's really cliche, but it was the most beautiful, most pure, the best moment of my entire life. I honestly, there's nothing like your firstborn. And that was just, oh, it was great. I love that moment. After that, after I got to like hold my baby, they like put him in his little like bed and wheeled us out. We went into like the recovery room where we like wait. That's my nursing bra, guys. I'm not like boobs out, sorry. I just gotta wear a nursing bra with like every outfit. Anyways, so yeah, so I'm like recovering for like an hour, and then they bring me into like my room for like the next 2 days. And honestly, after having him, this is gonna sound terrible, I think I was just like so drugged up from all the medicine that they gave me for the C-section and everything. I was exhausted, and I literally just slept the whole first day. I don't remember anything. Like, I could not tell you the first day with my son, which breaks my heart. Oh my God, it breaks my heart so much. Like, I don't remember it. I don't remember half the people coming there that came there the first day. I was exhausted. I just wanted to sleep. And luckily, newborns sleep a lot, so he just slept with me. I tried breastfeeding in the hospital. He would not latch. They gave me like nipple shields. He could not get it down. I could not get it down. It was really hard. And the like next 2 days, I felt so, how do I say this without sounding like a bad mom? I felt so alone and like sad. Like all these hormones left my body, and I didn't have a bump anymore, which I was so used to and so in love with. I loved being pregnant. Like I loved it, especially with Mason. Like he was such an easy pregnancy. And I would like go to feel my bump and it wouldn't be there. I was in so much pain. Like people really downplay C-sections. It is the worst pain. I'm not kidding. The worst pain I've ever gone through. The worst. Everything you do hurts. And I mean everything. You move your arm and your core moves a little bit, it hurts. You cough, it hurts. Literally everything. Sneezing hurts, peeing hurts. Every single thing you do that's not like this hurts. Everything. And I was terrified of taking pain medication because I did not want to get addicted to pills or drugs or anything like that. So I refused most of it. In the hospital I took it, but when I got home I refused it. Like I did not want to take that pain medicine unless I was feeling the pain, unless it was severe and I could not bear it. I would not take that pain medicine. So, which I don't recommend doing, by the way. I did that differently with Carter, which I'll tell you guys in the next part, but I was in so much pain, and I didn't really know what I was doing recovery-wise either. So it was like I didn't know what I was doing birth-wise, didn't know what I was doing recovery-wise. So I was pretty much just learning as I went, and guys, like I can't even describe to you how alone you feel in that situation. Like you're just sliced open. All everyone cares about is like your new baby. They don't care about you. Like no one's checking on mom. No one's making sure mom's feeling good. Like I don't even know how to, that may sound selfish. It probably does, but we need help too. Like we need people to look after us too, you know? And I felt like I did not have that the first time. And I don't blame that on anyone either. It's probably just how I was feeling because my hormones, you know, but I felt very alone, very sad. It was hard. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It was hard. But that's pretty much the birth story of Mason. And he was 8 pounds 2 ounces when he was born. He's 19 inches long. He's a big boy. And I breastfed him for about, I pumped and I gave him milk for about like a month and a half, 2 months. But he wouldn't latch to me, so we didn't do that very long. But I learned a lot through him, and I feel like having him definitely prepared me a lot better for Carter's birth. And I learned a lot. Like, I learned how to mom, how to heal, how to know when I'm going into labor, all that kind of stuff. I'm definitely thankful for the experience I had with Mason, even though it wasn't probably the best. And I mean, it's not the worst either. I don't want to like say that I had the worst birth ever, but it was definitely really hard to go through. But it was the best day of my life, and I love my little baby, and he's such a good big brother now. And now he's 2 years old and 4 months. He's getting so big, and I feel like I just had him yesterday. So hold on to your babies, because the newborn stage may be the most tiring, like, because you're not getting like any sleep, but it's the best stage. All they want to do is cuddle you and snuggle and just love their mommy, and just they're so dependent. And some people don't like that feeling, but I love feeling needed. So I love when my little baby just, all he needed was me for everything. So it has its pros and cons, but that's pretty much it, guys. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 for Carter's story. Like this video, share it, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you guys are alerted whenever I post Carter's story and future videos, so you guys can be a part of our little fam. Thanks, guys.